Conservationist Aldo Leopold, deemed by many to be the father of wildlife ecology, once said, "Man always kills the thing he loves." And so we have killed, and so we as the pioneers have killed our wilderness. Some say we had to, but be that as it may, I am glad I shall never be young without wild country to be young in. We have saved many precious forests and natural wonders in this country in the past from almost certain annihilation. The major threat to our national monuments and parks has always been and will always be greed. National monuments are at risk due to the mining of natural resources and must be protected in order to preserve the landscape, wildlife, and natural history. Matters of conservation are not often a popular topic of discussion, but the depletion of our national monuments affects all Americans. First, I will discuss the Trump administration's decision to reduce the size of several US national monuments, which endangers millions of square miles of previously protected lands. Secondly, I will look at why they made this decision to downsize the lands. And lastly, I will cover some of the opposing viewpoints and some different ways you can support national monument conservation. So the Trump administration reduced the size of some major US national monuments in an effort to preclude these lands from federal protection. According to Laura Parker of the National Geographic, in 2017, President Trump instructed Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke to review as many as 40 national monuments to determine if any of these previous allotments were overreaching and extended beyond borders needing protection. So this action was a supposed return of land under federal protection to the states. Parker goes on to say that no president has ever revoked a national monument named by a predecessor. No president has ever tried. A second source, according to James Miller of the Earth Island Journal, the Trump administration signed an executive order in December of 2017, which downsized the Bear Ears National Monument 85%. And also the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument by 46%. These were both established by Obama and Clinton administrations, respectively. The decision to downsize the parks undermined conservation efforts and were met with opposition from environmental groups. Drastic reductions in monument spaces has led to overcrowding of certain areas, delicate areas, and led to destruction of important archaeological sites. So not only are indigenous peoples' natural history at risk, but endangered species are also at risk due to shrinking habitats. And a study performed by Neil Clancy et al. Found that 21 or 13% endangered species meet the minimum threshold of having 30% of their range within protected areas. So you can see the reduction in protected lands could threaten these struggling species. So now that I've discussed some of the key concerns over the closures of some of our nation's monuments, I'd like to discuss the possible cause for these closures. Lands in areas like Bear Ears monuments have been reduced because of their potential profitability to private enterprise. The downsizing of the Bear Ears monument has left important areas, including rich uranium reserves, unprotected from mining. In a 2018 article titled "Battle for the American West," author Hannah Nordhaus of the National Geographic states that Trump's Interior Department consulted with energy interests in drawing the new monument's boundaries. This is a very serious conflict of interest that casts a lot of doubt on the administration's motives for this decision. Juliet Alpern wrote in a 2017 article titled "Uranium Firm Lobbied to Mine Bear Ears Monument," stated that a uranium company launched a concerted lobbying campaign to scale back the Bear Ears National Monument. Alpern goes on to say that the nation's sole uranium processing mill sits directly next to the boundaries previously set by President Obama. So more than 500 uranium mines that have been used have been left near or on Navajo Nation lands near Bear Ears, and they have never been cleaned up. According to Parker with the National Geographic, Obama created 34 national monuments in his term, more than any president. The accusation by Trump was that the Obama administration had created midnight monuments by signing an order to create, for example, the Bear Ears Monument in his last few days in office. So Trump's reversal of Obama's decision or modification is, a direct attempt to undermine Obama administration policy. So now that I've discussed some key terms, key concerns over the safety and security of some of the nation's monuments, I'd like to review some of the opposition's arguments for downsizing of these monuments. So the Trump administration has granted additional funding for national parks, wildlife refuges, and recreational areas, but some have wondered if it is enough. Colorado Republican Senator Cory Gardner sponsored the Great American Outdoors Act of 2020, which was signed by Trump back in March, which provided funds for the National Parks and Public Land Legacy Restoration Fund to support deferred maintenance projects and on federal lands. Funds come from the development of domestic energy sources and can be up to $1.9 billion per year. This may not be enough according to some policymakers and environmentalists. This is only a small fix that might not offset environmental damage done by the Trump administration. And that's according to Congressional Digest. The influx of much needed funds is a great benefit to the infrastructure of our national parks, but the downsizing of the monument is not the answer. The downsizing of the Bear Ears Monument of over 1 million square acres is a huge step backward for conservation. So in conclusion, the downsizing of the national monuments threatens wildlife, natural lands, and indigenous archaeology due to overcrowding and resource extraction like mining. In conclusion, I've discussed some of the recent policy changes that impact our national monuments, such as downsizing of national monuments, which threaten our natural lands. Mining in these areas is a particular case of much of the damage that's caused to the land. And also, we need greater efforts by our administration to save our monuments. The national monuments are at risk due to downsizing and mining of natural resources, which must be protected in order to preserve the landscape, wildlife, and natural history. So what can you do to help conservation? You can visit your national parks and experience them for yourselves and see what's at stake. You can ask President-elect Biden to make parks a priority and support strong climate change protections. And you can make your voices heard by writing to your local congressman, and getting involved. One great organization is the National Parks Conservation Association. They have lots of great information on how to affect change. Their website is npca.org, and they have different opportunities to get involved and donate. So thank you. Oh, and yeah, let me. Okay, you guys got any questions?
Yeah. Cool. Have you ever visited a national monument or been to one?
I haven't been to a monument, but I've been to like Yosemite. I've been to Sequoia National Park. So yeah, it was awesome. I only got to go one time in my 20s. But yeah, it's an amazing thing to check out.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I've been to a couple, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well written and well said.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, Brad, what's kind of gotten you interested in conservation efforts, like other than just the like obvious beauty of the parks?
I think it was probably stemming from my aunt's involvement. She used to work at a few parks, and she used to work at like some ski resorts. So she was always like a really outdoorsy type. And so was my mom. And so we did a lot of trips when we were kids, and it just kind of got me into it. I mean, I haven't really ever volunteered for any kind of like cleanups or anything like that, but it's kind of always been something that I've been interested in.
That's great, man. It was a great project.
Thanks.
So do you have any experience for volunteering in Alcatraz?
Volunteering what?
Alcatraz. It's garden in Alcatraz.
Oh, Alcatraz. No, I haven't actually been there before. But
Yeah, just I have experience when I came to the US for the voluntary in Alcatraz. It has a fort garden.
uh-huh.
It's very amazing experience that I had.
Okay.
Yeah, all the voluntary that came is a lawyer, surgical doctors and something, but it's very interesting.
That sounds neat. I might check that out.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the like volunteering options as one of the kind of call to actions. Do you know like what kinds of things you would do as a volunteer for those kinds of organizations?
I'm sure they have like just like clerical jobs. I'm sure there's other meetups where you can either pick up trash or go to the parks and help out wherever you can. I think it's pretty low commitment, so they should have a pretty broad array of things you can do depending on how involved you want to get.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Thanks, guys.